For ages beyond reckoning, the borders of the galaxy guarded a secret no conscious being dared to speak. In the oldest records, written in languages now lost to time, whispered tales told of a race older than civilization, older than worlds, older even than the first stars. The exiles of the first light. They were not merely advanced, they were architects of reality itself. Sculptors of quantum fields, masters of gravity and time. Yet to most of the cosmos, they were nothing more than forgotten myths. Until the day the sky opened. The dawn of that day would be etched forever into human memory. Astronomers in the southern hemisphere detected it first, a spontaneous rupture in the fabric of space just beyond Neptune's orbit, a luminous tear, as if some unseen hand had tugged at an invisible seam and split the universe open. It wasn't a common anomaly, nor any relativistic event known to science. The breach stretched for hundreds of kilometers and expanded with deliberate rhythm. When sensors were directed at it, the unthinkable happened. Space itself glowed, and then something stepped through. They emerged shrouded in golden radiance, towering humanoid silhouettes, ethereal and immense, clad in energy-wrought armor that folded in on itself. Their ships, if ships was even the right word, resembled living fractal sculptures, constantly reconfiguring, humming with multi-dimensional geometry. Their mere presence distorted gravity around distant planets, twisting tides, shifting orbits, and spawning magnetic storms. None of it was intentional. They simply existed on a scale far beyond anything modern civilizations were built to comprehend. Humanity panicked. Governments convened in frantic emergency sessions. Satellites were annihilated by the exiles' rapidational radiation. The moon quaked as one of their vessels passed its orbit. Entire oceans trembled. But true terror came when the exiles spoke, not with voices, but with telepathic projections that flooded the minds of every sentient creature on Earth. An ancient voice reverberated through human consciousness, powerful and indescribable. After millennia in shadow, we returned to reclaim what was taken from us. Most fainted, others wept uncontrollably. Some fell into hours-long catatonia. The sheer magnitude of the exile's intellect was overwhelming. Too vast, too intense, impossible to contain in a human mind. And then came the revelation. They knew humanity. Not as equals, not as offspring, but as late witnesses inhabiting a galaxy that had once belonged entirely to them. Humanity had risen long after the exiles were banished. But to the exiles, time was not linear. They perceived it as a tapestry, simultaneous, interwoven. And upon returning, they found a young species living on worlds they still considered rightfully theirs. They spoke nothing of coexistence, nothing of diplomacy. They were here for vengeance, against those who had exiled them, beings long extinct for tens of millions of years. But that was irrelevant. To them, humanity was simply the accidental occupant of a throne once held by ancient enemies. Meanwhile, Earth's scientists scrambled to explain the phenomenon. Gravimetrists observed technologies that bent the very laws of physics, fields that manipulated entropy, weapons that warped reality, energy structures that nullified particles. No human weapon could even touch them. Lasers disintegrated before impact. Missiles imploded without registering on their sensors. The world understood it was facing a divine force. But Earth was not entirely defenseless. Decades earlier, under absolute secrecy, scientists from several nations had developed a covert program called Project Ascension. Inspired by myths of transcendent beings, its goals were disturbing: to reshape soldiers beyond human limits, wiping memories, suppressing identity, replacing flesh with living bioenergy. The process was irreversible. Many had condemned it as inhuman. But now, before the exiles, the impossible had become necessary. Deep beneath an abandoned station in the Nevada desert, 6 massive capsules stirred. Inside, Soldiers suspended in shimmering blue light breathed their last breaths as ordinary humans. Their bodies were tall and slender, wrapped in organic armor that pulsed with their heartbeats. Their minds were silent behind layers of neural shielding. Their names were gone, their emotions sculpted away. Only purpose remained. Gerald Elias Thorne watched without speaking. He knew he was about to unleash living weapons that could never rejoin society, soldiers who had sacrificed everything to become something humanity feared, yet now desperately needed. When the capsules opened, the Ascended stepped forward. The temperature plunged, the air trembled, the ground shuddered, as though the planet itself recognized the birth of its final guardians. And for the first time since the Exiles' return, humanity felt hope. The emergence of the Ascended rippled across the world like a silent tide. They moved with ritual precision, their eyes glowing spheres of deep blue, not reflecting emotion, but computation. Every muscle, every electric impulse, every fiber in their restructured bodies resonated with forces once belonging only to the stars. They were no longer soldiers, they were instruments, humanity's final gamble against a cosmically overwhelming threat. General Elias Thorne approached them, carrying both pride and sorrow. "You were created to face the impossible," he said, knowing they did not hear in the human sense. "The Exiles will not see you as humans, but perhaps they will see you as something worth fighting." High above Earth, the Exile ships continued their slow descent, their luminous patterns collapsing gravitational frequencies and sending satellites plummeting like metallic rain. Once again, human weapons proved useless. Plasma bursts vanished into quantum-fold fields. Missiles crumbled like dust against their golden radiance. It was like fighting sentient storms. When the Exiles finally reached the upper atmosphere, Earth seemed to hold its breath. One Exile descended first, compressing its scale from hundreds of meters to merely 20. Even reduced, its presence warped air and gravity. It landed in the Mojave Desert with a silent shockwave, shifting dunes and boiling the air. It was majestic, it was terrifying, and it spoke without sound.
This world shelters life born late of the cosmos, but the law of the primordials endures. You occupy the territory of those who betrayed us, and judgment falls upon you. General Elias watched the broadcast live. Soldiers trembled, scientists sobbed, civilians begged for hope. And then humanity revealed its own monsters. 6 Ascended rose over the horizon, advancing like living shadows of blue light. Each step sent ripples of luminescence across the ground. Their organic armor shifted with the air, absorbing electromagnetic energy and transforming it into power. The Exile lifted its golden head, assessing them. Its eyes flickered with surprise, the first expression humanity had ever witnessed from the Exiles. It spoke a single word: interesting. What followed was not seen first, it was felt. A gravitational blow pressed the world inward as the Exile attempted to crush the Ascended beneath the weight of a planet. Any human would have been obliterated instantly, but the Ascended adjusted, converting the crushing gravity into refracted waves, and continued forward. One leapt so fast it carved a trail of plasma through the thin desert air. The Exile raised its arm, slowly, yet the motion altered reality. A barrier of golden light surged outward, warping particles, attempting to trap the Ascended mid-air, but the soldier tore through the field as though ripping fragile cloth. His energy-forged claws struck the Exile's chest, leaving the first physical wound ever recorded, a slit of light that sealed instantly. The Exile stepped back. A single step, but a historic one. For the first time since their return, they had been harmed. The battlefield erupted. The other 5 Ascended attacked in unison, moving like conscious lightning. Their living weapons, crystalline bone extensions, and energy-forged blades clashed against the enemy's fractal armor. Strikes burst in blue and gold. Counterstrikes folded dunes into impossible shapes. The battle became a war dance of gods and champions. Military systems tracked every movement, transmitting data to scientists struggling to understand how it was possible. Early analysis suggested the Ascended were acting on quantum-level decision-making, not reacting, but anticipating microfolds in space before they occurred. Yet the Exile's superiority was overwhelming. With a mental crack, it split into multiple versions of itself for milliseconds, dimensional projections attacking from every angle. Two Ascended were thrown into the distance, carving craters upon landing. A third had its carapace partly disintegrated by a burst of golden light, exposing flickering blue neural currents beneath. But the Ascended did not stop. They could not. They had no fear, no doubt, no identity. They were the last barrier between extinction and survival. From the upper atmosphere, Exile ships observed and analyzed. Energy signatures intensified. Signals passed between them, unreadable, impossible rhythms. Then the Exile on the ground finally understood. You are not natural. You are constructed, imitations of ascension. It raised its hand, and the gravity of the entire planet tilted. General Elias braced for catastrophe, but the leading Ascended, glowing brighter than the others, lifted its arm in opposition. A counter-gravitational wave surged outward, stabilizing Earth's field. The clash of forces capable of rewriting physical law nearly tore the planet apart. The Exile tilted its head once more. For the first time, it appeared intrigued. For the first time, concerned. The battle was far from over, but humanity had something the Exiles never expected: resistance. And that resistance now glowed with its own light. The desert burned like a cosmic furnace. Gravitational waves stirred ancient stardust into the air. Dust vibrated in two frequencies: golden echoes of the invaders and crystalline blue pulses of the transformed warriors. The entire world watched, breathless, as a battle worthy of the universe's earliest ages unfolded on the surface of a young planet. The Exile stepped back again, truly analyzing what it faced: genuine opposition, something it had not encountered in eons. Its multifaceted form pulsed in deeper shades of gold. The Ascended were not mere experiments. They were the embodiment of a collective will to survive. In that, they resembled the Exile's ancient foes. A forgotten memory stirred. The leading Ascended, cracks of blue light running across its carapace, advanced. It felt neither anger nor pride. It was an echo of humanity forged into a weapon. With an impossible leap, it pierced a luminous barrier and struck the Exile's golden chest with a blast of blue energy. Fissures flared like miniature galaxies before slowly sealing. The Exile uttered a single word in its quantum tongue, felt by the sensitive more than heard, and the air erupted in a concussive wave. Ascended were hurled in every direction like meteors. Distant mountains shuddered, the sky shifted colors, and humanity realized the Exile was still holding back. It did not want to destroy the planet yet. Overhead, Exile ships vibrated in panicked patterns, sending telepathic signals across oceans, satellites, and mines. They were consulting, evaluating, deciding whether the Ascended were a true threat or a scientific anomaly. Then the impossible happened. A second rupture opened in space, smaller, unstable. From it fell a fragment of ancient energy that struck the ground, revealing a black capsule etched with symbols even the Exiles did not recognize. It opened with a sound that echoed inside minds rather than ears. Violet light spilled out. A figure stumbled from within, a human, or something once human, clad in incomplete ascended armor, fractured and alive. Violet flames burned where his eyes should be. General Elias went pale. No, he shouldn't be alive. It was the first Ascended, the prototype, lost years ago in a quantum fold accident, pulled into another dimension, a temporal pit from which no one returned. Until now. The new Ascended looked at the fallen six, then at the exile, then at the sky, and smiled.
"I've seen what comes next," he said, his voice resonating in several places at once. "And it isn't just you, exiles. You're not the end. You're only the prologue." The exile struck instantly, expanding its dimensional field to imprison him, but the Violet Ascended walked through it like drifting smoke. No physical law held him. He touched the exile's arm, and the golden being screamed. It was the sound of tearing metal and a dying star. Panic rippled through the exile fleet. They had detected an uncatalogued threat, a destabilized hybrid, a living singularity, utterly unpredictable. And now he fought for humanity because he had chosen to. "You've returned for an ancient throne," he told the exile, "but the universe is changed, and so have we." The leading blue Ascended rose despite fractures. The other five stood with him. Together they circled the exile, while the violet prototype remained at the center, bending shadows around him. The exile tried to flee, but space itself sealed around the battlefield, not through human technology, but through the combined presence of the Ascended. The planet would not let this being escape. What followed was almost impossible to record. Light and shadow collided. Beams of compressed time streaked across the sky. Dunes turned to glass. Air thickened into something like invisible stone. The Ascended moved as one, every strike part of a cosmic pattern. The exile resisted like a star resisting collapse. Its screams carved craters. Its movements tore open the horizon. But there were too many Ascended, and for the first time in millions of years, the exile felt something forbidden: fear. With an impact that lit half the world, the exile fell. Its golden light shattered into drifting fragments, dissolving into stardust. Silence overtook the battlefield. The violet prototype looked skyward. "They will come in legions," he said softly. "Their return has only begun. We were spared only because we passed the test." A commander transmitted to him, "Are you with us?" He smiled again, tinged with sorrow. "No, I stand with what remains of our species, and that includes you. But I no longer belong to just one side." Then he dissolved into violet particles, vanishing among the stars. The blue Ascended regrouped, wounded but standing. Around the world, humans wept, screamed, celebrated. The battle was over, but the war had only begun. General Elias addressed the planet. "Today, Earth faced a god, and won. But we are not safe. The exiles will return, and we must be ready." Cameras captured the Ascended gazing upward, as though sensing portals forming far above human sight. A new era had begun. Its name, the Era of the Ascended. And if you want to continue following this epic saga, subscribe now, leave a like, and watch the next video, where we uncover the true reason for the exile's return and the terrifying secret behind the first light.